TOA Fit Body Bootcamp and Fit Body Forever communities. What's up, everybody? Robert Linkul, trainingtheolderadult.com. Happy to see you back here with us today as we are going to talk about some falling situations / issues, pre-indicators if you're going to be more of a fall risk and what you can do about it as we work through the aging process. And the reason this came to my attention was a video that was posted with Peter Attia and a toe strength specialist, I guess I would call her. Let's see what these two have to say, and then we can discuss it a little bit.
Greatest predictors of fall risk.
Yes.
The mortality is enormous once you reach the age of about 65. What do you think are the most important things that we need to be training to minimize the risk of a fall?
So this is Dr. Courtney Conley, I think was her name. And the question here is like, what is the most important thing? The first thing he wants to address here, the most important. Mind you, of all the options that you could pick, right? This is, I guess you can kind of see where she's going to go with this, but I was a little taken back by this. So let's see what she says.
First and foremost, toe strength. That is the single biggest predictor of falls in the elderly, is a weakness in toe strength.
And that's interesting because she's not wrong. It is a great indicator, toe strength, but it's also extremely difficult to measure. I've seen some people, they just get like a regular weight scale that you would stand on, and they put their toes on the end. They stand on the floor, put their toes on there, and they squeeze down with their toes, and it says, 44 pounds or whatever it says. And then if you increase or decrease as you measure it, that's one thing. There's also something very similar to a dynamometer, but instead of squeezing it, it's like a credit card. I'll show you a picture of something similar. A credit card, and it's got a little tag attached to it, and that hooks to a dynamometer. And you try to hold the card with your toes on the floor, and I slowly pull the dynamometer and pull until the card comes free. And then it measures, you had 44 pounds of pressure before the card released, something along those lines. The bottom line being, the more pliable, the more toe pliability, especially your big toe that you have, the better your ability to stay on your feet is. And by pliable, I mean you've got a lot of extension and flexion in that toe. And the big toe is extremely important. It kind of guides the leverage of the other toes. And it is a much bigger, by double, sometimes triple over the other toes, appendage. And its ability to push and create ground reaction initiates the entire leverage of the class 2 lever of the ankle all the way through your foot when you plantar flex and or go airbound, etc., jumping, etc. This is mobility in that joint and good strength in that joint is probably one of the greatest training components that we can have. So she's not wrong there, but it just seems funny to answer the question and say, well, you've got to have better toe strength, as opposed to like lower body strength. And by training that, your toes and your feet would get stronger, because the more that we do on our lower body, the more ground resistance and the more toe strength you are initially going to develop. Doesn't mean that you can't specifically focus on your toes and your feet. I talk about that often, that we should. From a general just healthcare standpoint of put lotion on your feet every night, trim your nails, and whatever you want to call it, where you file off any dead skin and the development of calluses or bunions or any of that. You've got to take care of your feet, because they are literally carrying you through, not literally, but literally stepping on these as you go through life, right? They are propelling you through life. So you do want to take care of them. Unfortunately, we have some family members where their feet are banged up, and they would be in much better foot health if they would just do something on a daily basis. The simple action of putting lotion on your feet and then crawling into bed at night and just letting your feet be moist, having moisturizer applied to them, will go a long way in keeping your feet quite healthy. Let alone all the other things. If you are regularly bathing and taking good care of your nails and trimming your toenails and getting rid of any calluses, etc., Foot health is super important, just as much. Like we take care of our hands, we lotion our hands, we trim our nails. If you hurt yourself, you tend to it. But our feet, we just kind of ignore for the most part, especially the fellas. You guys are the worst when it comes to foot care over the women. Women will all the time, they'll go and get, what is it, a pedicure? A manicure, pedicure for your feet, right? They'll go and get pedicures. And guys will rarely ever do it. I don't really like other people touching my feet. I've kind of got a thing for it. I don't mind having my feet in the little water bucket and then after that I'm like, just let me use I'll do it. I don't like other people touching my feet. It kind of irks me out a little bit. I have a hard time with it. I'm definitely not relaxing when someone else is working on my feet. I do a fine job of it. I'm completely capable and comfortable to do it. But I've got a routine and I do it every single week. And I have one that I do every night by just simply applying some lotion and a little bit of muscle butter to my feet to help them heal. And I think by doing that, that's half the battle right there. And G.I. Joe tells us, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Taking care of your feet from a healthcare standpoint, number one. From a physical standpoint, doing toe blocking exercises where you are flexing, placing, pushing your foot down into the floor, getting ground reaction, force applied through your big toe, learning how to toe break with a high lunge, kickstand position, etc. Working on ramps and drop steps and forward steps and lateral steps and gait variations from suitcase carries to farmer carries, etc. All of that improves your health strength and toe strength. So I completely agree with her answer. And I do think that's the right thing to be saying. I completely agree with it. I just would love to have a little more, and having not shown you this whole thing, I'm sure in the 90 minutes they talked, in the full episode they probably get into it more, but without any further ado, let's keep
I would not have guessed that. I'm very worried about what my toe strength is going to be when we bust out the dynamometer.
Well, neuroplasticity is a real thing, so we can train that up for you.
Very good.
So toe strength, ankle mobility. That's another one that we'll look at.
More important in the plantar dorsi plane or in the inversion eversion plane?
In both. A lot of the receptors on the foot live on this outside lateral aspect of the foot. We talked about how a lot of falls occur with the initiation of gait. The other plane where people will fall is to the outside.
Okay, so let's address that for a second. That's very true in that most falls occur when you are in motion, when you are in gait. General locomotion means you are starting to manipulate your body and move it through space, locomotion. And that is typically done with a gait. Whatever your gait might be, gait is from the back heel of one foot to the front toe of the other. So back heel to front toe. If I am taking a half of a step, 1/2 of my own foot every time, that's a half of a foot gait length, or a full foot gait length, heel to toe, or I'm doing 1.5, or I'm doing 2 with my gait length. Ideally, you should, let's say your foot is 10 inches, you should have 10 inches between both of your feet with every step. So it's 1, 2, 3 of your foot lengths with every step that you're taking. 30 inches, 30 inches, 30 inches, 10 inches in between your front heel and your back toe. That is an ideal gait length. And that, if you're able to do that, majority of the time, you are not a high fall risk by any means. And so that's what she's kind of discussing here is, as we start to move through life and we're getting weaker, that gait stride gets smaller and smaller. And as it gets smaller, you become more, I'm going to show you part of my presentation here in a moment, you become more of like a spinning top than you are a triangular base. And that spinning top is very balanced and stable as long as it's balanced and stable. But the second that it gets out of balance, it goes down really quick and hard. And most of the time, that occurs when we are in motion. Rarely is someone just standing and then falls over. They rarely will go from, I'm brushing my teeth, and then we always have the, well, I stand on one foot when I brush my teeth. Well, that's going to get you very good at standing on one foot while you brush your teeth. It's kind of a one-trick pony. You're like a trained seal at this point. You can do this thing, but that does not have anything to do with you not falling down while you're walking around outside. So we are in motion. And as we are in motion, our center of mass, just under your belly button by about 1 inch or 2, that center of mass is now moving with you as you walk and articulate your body. And the second that that center of balance gets outside a range in which you are balancing it, you are now going to have to do something to intervene, to slow down that fall or that momentum. You're gonna have to throw your foot out there, or you're gonna have to grab onto something, or you're gonna have to be able to decelerate at a rate that's so slow that you're able to get your foot out in front of you and rescue the fall before it occurs. And all of that can happen in a blink of an eye. We've interviewed many people after they fall, and they go, I was on my feet 1 second, and the next thing I know, I'm down looking up at you. I don't even remember the fall. All of a sudden, I'm on the ground looking up. So they don't really think, they don't have this moment in their head where they're like, I think I'm falling. I am falling. I'm recognizing I'm falling. I should throw my foot out. Oh, I've got a 30-inch leg. I'm falling at a rate of 2.9 meters per second. I need to throw my foot out at a 36-degree angle at about 42 inches to be able to stop this fall and initiate an eccentric decline and deceleration of strength that will then rebound and push me concentrically back into a standing position and thus rescue my fall from occurring. By the time you go, I think you're on the ground. You're down and you're out and you're now embarrassed. Everybody is looking at you and you have no idea what's happened and you may even be hurt. That happens 90% of the time. The other 10% of the time, you are standing and something else happens. Something else acts upon you. The carpet's pulled out from underneath you, or someone runs into you, or something along those lines. But 90% of the time, you are in action. You are in motion. You are doing something, and then your center of mass gets out of balance, and down you go. So we should really train a large portion of our lives, a portion of our training lives should be committed to us moving about in space so we can get really good at doing that against loads when we pull on it, when we push on it, when we cross-body chop it, when we do all these. So when we do regular life, it's like I've overtrained for all of this at such a level. All of this regular stuff that's way easier, no problem. And you should have that mentality with kind of all aspects. I squat with a bunch of weight, so when I squat with just body weight, it's easy. I press with a bunch of weight, so when I just put up my suitcase, it's easy. I carry 3 times the amount of weight my groceries would be, so when I do get the groceries, it's easy. So that's what overtraining is for, is so when the moment is called upon for you to do it, you can handle it no problem. It's quite easy for you to do so. And we want to have that as a regular practice for us throughout our lives here, knowing that if you fall, a great percentage of the individuals that do fall, this is the checkpoint in their life of the downward turn. I was doing okay until I fell and broke my hip, or until I fell and snapped my clavicle. I was doing okay until this catastrophic fall, and then the downward trajectory of life occurs, and it's anywhere from 6 to 12 months. Most of the time within 6 months, it's over with, unfortunately. Let's wrap this up. We'll keep talking.
So when they go to step, if I have less sensitivity to these receptors on the outside of the foot, I can't feel where am I going. I'm going to the outside. So that's why we'll look at the ability of the ankle. Do I have good range of motion, both?
And think of people with neuropathy or other neurological disease or limitations in their feet and or hands where they can't feel the ground when they're trying to manipulate their body. This can become a big problem here as well.
In and out and going forward. The other thing, obviously, that we'll look at is balance. And yes, that's a pretty key component to this for us too. I believe she goes a little bit further into in the full video. I haven't watched the whole thing on his website yet, of which I am a member. And I'll tell you what, $139, $150 a year, whatever it is that I pay for Peter Attia's website, worth every single penny. I would actually pay more. I find his website to be amazing. Great show notes, great references. Rarely, if not ever, I don't know if I've ever gone to look for a stat or a piece of information that he cited that I couldn't find the reference for. Like, it's that good. And it's great to help support when you're trying to make a point or win over an argument, to have somewhere where you could go and reference and go, here's all the articles that I could look at, and here, check these out, right? And he really provides you those. So totally worth it. I think I'm on my 3rd year. Basically, from the moment he started that, Keegan bought it for me for Christmas, and we've had it renewed every Christmas as an additional present for me. So I absolutely love it, and would encourage you all to check it out. All right. So just a couple of tips here as we wrap this one up.
What exercises could you do to help prevent your falls? Kickstands and or single leg exercises like these single leg RDLs work very good for this. You could also do kickstand sit to stands and single leg sit to stands and squats, and depending on the ability of your individuals and or you, the client, you can address that and start to work on that. And then by getting your feet stronger, as we kind of talked about, excuse me, not only do you build more muscle mass in your feet and better stability, etc., balance, all that, but you're also addressing the bones. So if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, we're going to start to address that as well. So to prevent the fall, you kind of have to reverse engineer this. And to do so, it has to start from a regeneration of a proper gait. You cannot simply tell people just start taking longer steps. They're not capable of doing that. That's why they're not doing it now. So when you just say, right now you take a 6-inch step, I want you to take 12-inch steps from now on. When they start to do that, they're gonna fall over because they're not strong enough to do it, or else they would be doing it already. Like everyone had a long, healthy gait at some point in their life. And as they got older, just because they got older does not mean that they have to have this small gait. It's occurred because they've become weaker. So if you were to train yourself with a long, muscular, well-endured gait, split squats, split stance, anything, rows, pushes, presses, plantar flexing, calf pumps, right? Dorsiflexing, tib raises, and then your lunges and step ups and lateral lunges and lateral step ups and all these different angles of attack. If you're to train all that, you'll keep that ability forever. 80s, 90s, etc. I've got 80s and a 90-year-old that all are able to do this because we've trained it for a couple of decades now. And they've kept that ability to do so, even though they've aged a lot. So it's really important to continue to do that and or establish it by slowly building a greater base via stick-supported gait steps, split squats, reverse lunges, and or stick-supported step-ups, step-downs, and lateral step-ups. We call it PAST, partially assisted stability training. And partially assisted means a stability stick. You still have to balance, as you see Elaine doing here, you still have to balance and coordinate yourself with the stick. Even though you have help, I'm still having to train myself rather than just grabbing onto the wall, which is 100% support. I've got like 50% support with a stick, but I have to balance the stick as well. So it's a very good betweener for us to do. Or you could grab onto a band that's hung up to a pull-up bar above you, that kind of thing, and do the same. And or a combo of ramp work, which you see Elaine and my dad both doing here. Notice the gap between my dad's feet, like we're trying to get him a full foot length in between the two. We've got a weight in one hand and nothing in the other. We're working on getting longer, bigger steps. And because he's on a ramp, we're actually bringing the earth kind of up to him. He gets an easier push back, but he can also take bigger steps because he doesn't have to go down as far. It's not as difficult to get back. This is an easier, a betweener variation of this. So ramps work really, really well to help and build a lot of confidence and a lot of abilities. Here with a partially assisted stick support, we're into a reverse lunge. So you can see the good practices that come about there. Here with the high ramp and the stick and some weight, we're getting some deep full range of motion. Ladies will have vests on when we do this sometimes too to help increasing their range of motion. These are two individuals that have knee replacements and have found a great increase in strength by doing this on the ramp. Even our reverse drop step kind of variations here, the reverse lunge, to help and practice that. Remember what the doctor said there, either forward or lateral or reverse. These are where the falls are. I think it's 43% forward, 41% backwards, and the remaining, whatever that is, 12%, whatever that is, off to the side. 83 and 41, or 38 and 41, so that's 89, so 11%. The other 11% is somewhere over here, right, to the lateral aspect. We want to get really good at forward, we want to get really good at back, and we want to practice those lateral variations. So when the moment comes and we've got to be able to move our bodies, we can go through that whole process I went through earlier super quick and make the reaction. All right, so just to wrap things up here, a drill that we can do is called the Vel foot drill. This is where you stand up here nice and tall. I'm going to demo it here for you. And hands in that anatomical position out to the side. You're gonna tuck your shoulder blades, lean everything forward, big toe, dig it in, dig it in. You hold for 5 seconds, and then you're gonna pull with your hamstrings and pull yourself back to the upright position. Now, as you get better at this, you can eventually do it with weight, and you can start to progress the time and so on. And we will lean forward, and I'll put the weight in my right hand, 3 seconds, put it back in my left hand, switch back and forth, 30 seconds, up to a minute. You can practice this foot drill just to build in really good strength in bouts of 5 seconds, and then more endurance in bouts of 30 seconds or more. And this is a little dynamometer down here at the bottom, that little credit card, and then you pull on the other part, and once the card slides free, you now have a number that says, oh, you had 51 pounds of pressure, or 21 kilos, or whatever it might convert out to. And now you know, all right, if I have at least 15 pounds of strength in my toes, then I'm not a massive fall risk. I'm still a concern, but not a fall risk. You want to be between 15 and 25 pounds. If you're over 25, all is well. You're 100% like, you're never going to fall down, guaranteed. Just kidding. You're in a much better situation than if you're 7, 8, 9 pounds. You're a huge fall risk at that point. So keep all that in mind as you start to think about training processes for the aging body and increasing toe/foot strength to help stay on your feet. I think there are some good strategies there, good things for us to learn. Big thank you to Dr. Peter Attia and Dr. Courtney. Dr. Courtney, what was her? Let me get her name again here. It popped up. Courtney Conley, looks like. Yeah, I can kind of see it through there. Dr. Conley, for sharing this information. Head over to the website or YouTube to get more information from him. Comments, questions, hit me up down below. Please subscribe, follow, like, share out, help us grow the channel. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, please continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. We'll see you next time. Take care.